Okay, so hello everyone. I welcome you all to the round 4 of Depths of Premier League. Today we are here to deliberate on fourth round. The theme for this round is social movements. On positions we have on opening government MVIT Super Kings, Kaushiki and Ayush. On opening opposition we have MVIT Knight Riders, Manmohan and Kanishq. On closing government we have MVIT Super Giants, Aastha and Ayush Rathore. On closing opposition we have Royal Challengers MVIT Chinmayi and Chaitanya. The motion for this round reads: This House regrets the rise of teenagers at the forefront of social movements. Example: Greta Thunberg, Malala Yousafzai, the Parkland students. The judges for today are Yashasvi, Subhra Dixit, and Nidhi H. And without any further ado, I would like to give the control to Yashasvi here to moderate the round. Here.
So, so without much delay, let's move on to our fourth round. So, I hope everyone is clear with the motion. Now, as the motion says, this house would regret the rise of teenagers at the forefront of social movements. I welcome the Prime Minister to take the center stage and present the case from the girl side. Yo.
Uh, yes, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, Kaushik.
Actually, my voice is repeating.
Before you start, please tell your name and your team so that
Yes.
I can keep a correct track of it. Right? Thank you.
Okay, sure. Just give me 30 seconds. Okay, am I audible?
Yes,
Mm,
Kaushik, you are audible.
okay, so I'll
Costi,
be.
give me 2
Okay,
seconds.
first of all,
Costi. Just 2 seconds. Like I'm sharing the live stream. 2 seconds. Costi, you can start whenever you are ready.
okay, cool. Hello everyone. I am Kaushiki Kriti. I'm from MVIT Super Kings, and I don't have any gender pronouns. And we are from opening government, and I'm the Prime Minister. So I'll be starting my speech in one, two, three, start. Okay, guys. Okay, panel, please understand that what we this is a regret motion. So we'll be providing you with the points that why we are regretting the motion. We are not going to see that okay, what will be the what could be the like the benefits and whatever it is. First of all, our agenda is to give you the points that why we are regretting the motion in the first things. So the motion states that this house regrets the rise of teenagers as the fourth phase of the social movement. Okay, so by teenagers we here means that children who are between the age of 13 to 17 precisely. No other age criteria we are defining here as the teenagers. Please, all the houses make the point of this. Okay, now comes the definition of the four phase. By four phase we are here strictly defining that we, as four phase, it is the phase of any movement. no other criteria. Four-face means face of any social movement. So, as giving example, as stating, like as Greta Thunberg was the face of that social movement, and Malala. Okay. Secondly, by social movement, we are here considering both type of social movements, which is already like in run of the social movement, and also we are here establishing that the social movements who is going to start from the scratch. Okay, now I would like to tell you panels that how I would like to structure my whole case. Firstly, I will be as I have given the definition of the emotions already. Now I will be providing you why this ideology we are running through. Before that, I will giving you the examples and giving you the facts that why a face is necessary, and why a teenager, we are regretting that a teenager cannot be the face and the foreface of any social movement. Then I'm going to explain on why it is beneficial on the humanitarian grounds. Also, I'll be defining with the stakeholders. Now let's go forward by that. We all have to understand that any social movement needs a face. Okay, a face is very necessary for any social movement to establish. We cannot, any house cannot deny that a face, without a face a social movement can achieve a greater level. Every social movement, make it Chiku movement or civilized movement or any movement we take from the history, every movement has a face. So here a face stands a critical role in our social movement. But we cannot deny the fact that the face of that of any social movement have to go through a lot of social pressure, political pressure, and lots of threats and everything. Okay, yes, they uh, they stand for a greater change, and they stand for a very good change. But we cannot deny the fact that they have the power, they have the, the pressure of the social pressure, the political pressure, the threat pressure to their family, and all of these intact. Okay, now coming to the second point, why how a face is critically necessary. Now I'm here giving example about the face of the motion, because here I'm going to structure my case that why a teenager cannot be a face of any motion. First of all, I want to say that we are not here against that a teenager cannot be a part of the social movement. Please note that teenagers can be a part of the movement. We are not here against saying that the teenagers we are saying that teenagers cannot be the face of the movement. Okay, teenagers can be a part of the movement. And every social movement, whatever if has a hierarchical structure. In that core group, we will be taking the consideration, the points, and the passion. We respect the passion of the teenager, we respect the ideology of the teenagers, and we respect the thought that teenagers comes to bring us to the world change. But here what we stand for, that we do not stand that a teenager should be the face of the motion. We stand that they could be the part of the core group, so that we could make that future. We don't see we want to make the future leaders, because future leaders are the future of any country or the world, and they are the ones who will make an impact. But we stand here against that any if let's take an example for a youth, that if we make uh, if a youth is a face of the movement, the youth have to go through. We cannot deny that the youth have to go with the social pressure and political pressure. We cannot deny the fact that the youth, the teenager, is going through with some very critical changes in his or her life. He is going through the future of the teenager is not well established yet. The youth has still not, the youth is, the teenager is still in a very critical situation of, what to do in the future. So we respect the ideology of the teenagers, but we want to make the future leaders. So as when I am saying that we want the teenagers to be the core part of the group, we are saying that we will help them to be a very good leader in the future. And we respect their ideology, because we cannot understand the fact that the same age attract the same population. So here, for any social movement, teenagers are very necessary, but not as a face. I'll tell you why. First of all, I'd like to mention the stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders in this motion? First of all, the teenagers are the major stakeholders. Second comes the parents and the family of the teenager. Thirdly, the public and the people involved in the movement. So, as I have explained, the youth is going through uh, like a lot of changes and everything, but like we cannot deny the fact a youth can be easily distracted, a youth can be easily influenced. Youth cannot, we do not want our youth to go through a social pressure. Okay, so the stakeholders that I'm going to divide, the parents also don't want any problems to come to us until and unless it's very necessary. So that's why we will be implementing, when we in the social movement, as a core group, we will be giving them will be bringing up the thing that uh, 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 the thing that will invite certain organization who teach teenagers to be future leaders, so that they can help nurturing the teenagers and teach them the complexity of the leadership. And we cannot also deny the fact that the legal all the social movement needs financial, legal, and also ethical advantages, where a teenager will fail in providing that ethical issues. So by this, I am ready to propose this, and I think I won the debate right and right here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for fine speech. I'd like to call upon the leader of opposition to present the case from the opposition side. Yeah, yeah.
Can I get 2 minutes?
Yeah, you may get 1 minute. Time constraint.
Yeah, ready.
Yeah, you can move on.
Starting in 3, 2, 1. So, hello everyone. My name is Kanishq, and I am here from the opposition side. So, government is saying that teenagers should not be part or should not be the forefront. They mentioned should not be the forefront of the social movement. So, first panel, let's understand what is the problems associated with the social movements. There are very few people who want to come up and show that what they can and come up and show the support to show support or to lead those social movements. How many there are very few people fear, or there are so many issues that they do not want to show up. So, and what are the things that social movement demands? They demands it demands the interaction of the people. They want masses to join them. They want to create the impact on the masses. This is the things that social movement wants. If anyone do not comes up, then how they can achieve these things? And so, as a position, I want to say that teenagers having a forefront or in a social movement is not a problem until it creates that impact. So, until it creates the impact and helping the movement to garnish that masses to come and support the movement. And I will clarify all those points why teenagers should be the forefront. First of all, now I want to say how teenagers can be impactful in those social movements. First of all, teenagers are pure. They are fearful, they are aggressive, they are energetic. They see the world in whole a different scenario. They do not see the world how we see. They are not dipped in the words. They are not in the words corruption, lies, or anything else. They talk what they see. So if they are saying something and it's getting impact, what's the problem in having that? So now I want to as the problems if teenagers should not be if what are the problems teenagers do not be part of the do not part of the social movements in the forefront. So as the teenagers grow, there are lot of responsibilities come on them. Their mind gets they are sorry as the time grows, they make some certain ideas, their ideology changes, or they get to know the world, and maybe here and there their mind get biased towards something because of the family they grow or something else. But when they are teenager, they are free of this, they are free of this all. they they talk what they see. So if now the society suppress their voices, in future they will not question anything. They will become the part of the crowd as the people are now. They will not come up and show what come up and talk about the problems. Now, if they are talking about the problems, what is what, why government is suppressing them and uh, not giving them that opportunity to come up and say what they want. So yeah, and one of the things I want to mention is not every teenager is coming and joining the movements. They are the special ones. There are not many teenagers saying, no, oh, today we will come and join the movement. They are the special ones. If they have the capability to lead those movements or become the forefront of those movements, what's the problem in that? I want to ask that. So there are, we have seen in many fields, there are many, I will say there are many grace children who do things more, much more with maturity and experience than their age. If in that fields they're allowed to do, then what is the problem in having them in social movements? If they are if they are think if they're able to connect those things and able to understand those things and talk about them, what is the problem in having them in the forefront of those movements? And the main thing that the uh, teenagers but the main thing teenagers bring in the movement is that they bring the support. The people get attracted by their voices, by the impacts. The example is the Greta Thunberg. Many people have talked about the climate change previously also, but when she came and talk about the climate change, many people heard there is a talk in the society about our girl come and talk about this or that. So people started to follow the movement. They started to talk about the movement. It became popular. So this is the impact the teenager can create. And when when a teenager or youth comes and say about something, youth also get affected by it. They come and they come in youth makes a large population. So when they gets impacted, they come and also join the movement, talk about them, and youth is a very big part of the society. So when they come, government also hears them. They know the youth is a very big, very important part of society. If they not hear them, they will be in problem. So this impact the teenagers can create or youth can create when they come in a movement at the forefront. So now I want to this is the points that our government mentioned that they will be they can't they will be social pressure, there will be political pressure. So if they have the social support to safeguard them against that, and if you are not giving teenager that chance to come in forward, you're denying them their rights, what they deserve to come and talk about. So yeah, at the end, I only want to say that we are okay with teenagers to come and join the movement if they can garnish us support, attraction. We have no problem in a short term. If a teenager come and talk about anything and it's garnishes us the support, we are okay with teenager to join that movement and support. So yeah, I want to rest my case with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Elo, for a fine speech. I'd like to call upon Deputy Prime Minister to continue the case from the OG side.
Hello, am I audible? Am I audible?
Deputy Prime Minister, you're audible.
Hello.
You're audible, DPO.
Okay, I will start my speech arguments in 3, 2, and 1. Good evening, all the moderators and jury members. Also, I would like to welcome all my fellow mates on the behalf of my Madam Prime Minister. I think the last 3 days were a great debating round. Panel, I think the leader of opposition has misunderstood. Not only leader of opposition, I think the whole set of opposition has misunderstood the concept of teenagers. They have misunderstood the concept of teenagers with a young population by saying that teenagers are aggressive, they have wide range of vision, they are very energetic, they are special ones. I think they are talking about the youth, not the teenagers. So for them, panel, let us go more deep into the word teenagers. You know who these teenagers are? These are school going students, roughly between 13 and 19 years. Now, the question is, who the hell takes you serious? None other than your benchmates. Okay, now what if you don't go to school? Now the case become more easy. Up to not even your benchmates take you serious. So panel, understand why we as a government are against making teenagers as the face of the movement. The social movements require two things to gain mass support. First, first is the set of shared grievances. I mean, who is not worried about corruption, dowry, etc., etc. But one more thing that is actually crucial, and I would say that is much more crucial than the shared set of grievances, is the objective and direction of the movement. Let us take a very, very, very popular example of the social movement led by these teenagers. Uh, uh, led by these teenagers, a very recent one, the Occupy Wall Street social movement. Well, what happened is a group of students gathered at Wall Street and they protested against the officials of the Wall Street. What happened is the movement completely failed. It was declared a failure, or rather say a disaster. Why? Every one of us are know that Wall Street is a serious problem, but you lack direction. You don't know what we are going to do. Are we going to remove the banks from the Wall Street? Are we going to dismantle all the stock system? We we have no direction, and the movement led by these teenagers have no direction. That is what our first point is, that teenagers lack direction, same as the Occupy Wall Street. My fellow mate, leader of opposition, mentioned two names, Greta Thunberg and Malala Yousafzai. I think these are the examples that were stated in the motion. So let us talk about that. Greta Thunberg is the second version of Malala Yousafzai. What are the contribution of Malala to the society? Zero, nil batta sannata. And yet the lady is treated like a celebrity who takes about her country being a peaceful place, but will never dare to come her homeland back. That's nothing but a hypocrisy. The same goes for Greta Thunberg. Let me ask you, what is her contribution to the society? How did she help in overcoming the environmental crisis? She did nothing except delivering a speech. Speeches do not solve problems, actions do, and she did nothing. The treatment that she is receiving is something that she doesn't deserve, and that is why people have a beef against her, because she doesn't deserve the fame and limelight portrayed on her. You cannot just scream, "How dare you!" repeatedly and gain global fame. Even then, after a speech and having gained fame and recognition, she could have used her influence to reach out to the governments, environmental bodies, to raise awareness about climate, at least do something. But instead, she decided to bask in the glory, making zero contribution to society or solving the existing issue. These are the story of these two examples that you stated. The next point what we want to make is, when when a movement is led by such immature people like teenagers, it is most likely to be hijacked by the political aspiration, by the people of older than their age, who have political aspirations for them. A very, very popular example, a very good example of that is the Taliban. It was started by a group of students, who roughly used to be teenagers, and it was hijacked by the people older than them, who have political aspirations to get over the government of Afghanistan. Now they will, of course, they will say, as my leader of opposition stated, as my leader of opposition stated, that these teenagers are aggressive. They have a wide range of vision, energetic, special ones. They come with passion, coherence. Of course, they do. But what comes with this passion and coherence? First, he understood it by first it misunderstood it by young youth. The next thing I want to say that what does passion and coherence bring with it? It brings violence. Same with the case of Taliban. The passion and coherence that these teenagers will bring, it will not only bring the passion into account, but also violence. They will they will go on becoming Bhinderwalas and Naxals. You know whom these communist, Marxist, and Maoist people target? These teenagers. They target these teenagers in their gang because they know they can be easily manipulated. They can be easily manipulated, right? Now, number three, I want to state that it is true that it is the students who start the movement. All greater movements like the emergency, the Quit India movements were started as a student by the student union. But the students can only protest. It do not become a movement and revolution until and unless it is joined by the marketing agencies. Dear respected panel, the leader of opposition said that why we as a government want to deny the teenagers from their rights. I mean, what you are talking about? The state government do not give the right to vote before they turn into a youth. When they are teenagers, the government itself do not give them a right to vote. What you are talking about is taking away their rights. And by saying that the only teenagers can connect with masses, are you saying that Mr. Narendra Modi, Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King were unable people? They cannot connect with the youth and lead teenagers. They have connected much more they have connected much more easily to the youth than these Greta Thunberg and Malala Yousafzai. Time over. Respected panel, the leader of opposition also said the children are doing more than their ages.
Ayush, time up.
Okay, fine.
Please turn off your mic, DPM. Can hear you. Thank Deputy Prime Minister for fine speech. I'd like to call upon the DLO to continue the case from the opening.
Can I get 1 minute? I just want to round up all my points.
Sure, dear, sure.
Okay, I'm just setting my timer. Good evening, everyone. My name is Manmohan Singh, and I am here as the Deputy Leader Opposition, talking about the motion today. And I would like to begin my case in 3, 2, 1, go. So first of all, I would like to take a point by the DPM rebuttal straight away. So the DPM says the whole set of opposition misunderstood what teenagers mean. Dude, we haven't even started. Only one person from the opposition came till now, and you're saying the whole set of the oppositions have misunderstood the point. Next, he goes on to say that the special ones are young, they aren't teenagers, and then he explains what teenagers are to us. And he says of the age group 13 to 19, the youngest chess master, Abhimanyu Mishra, was aged 12 years. What do you call him? A kid? I mean, 12 years, he's going to be a 13-year-old soon, so a teenager, you can call him a teenager. So what do we say for that? He's young, or is he not a teenager? Next, he goes on to say that no one takes them seriously. Greta Thunberg came onto this podium and she gave one speech, and everyone, I remember everyone in my school was talking about the climate change, and everyone in the world was talking about climate change. Up to the up to the point where even Donald Trump, Andrew Tate, everyone takes a jibe at her. Next, they say he brought up the example saying youths occupied Wall Street and failed. They lacked direction, hence failed. The Prime Minister said that we will set their future, we will make them future leaders, we will mentor them, we will do this, we will do that. So I would like to tell the DPM that a leader is not alone. He does not go and he does not pull the movement entirely by himself. He has a team behind him. He has who mentor him, who talk to him, who give him suggestions, who work with him to make any movement or any move that they make movement successful. And then he goes on to say that Malala Yousafzai did nothing. She took a bullet on her head, and that raised the awareness, that put the world's light, that pushed the world to look at what was happening there, and why what was happening with the girls over there. Why weren't they allowed to study? Her just because she didn't do much after that, you're going to say that it is nil but a sonata. She had the courage to go ahead and talk about it. That's what she did. Now he goes on to make many things like this, many such baseless points like this. Now the PM said that any phase has to go through a lot of pressure. So their voices are being suppressed by the government, just like how my DLO said. Now why does the government want to suppress the youth is one of the question we get. Now how the youth get on the floor. When the youth get on the floor, then their voices are suppressed by the government because their unbiased view, how my opening leader said, that their unbiased view and their pure view of the world, it goes against the government's propaganda, like like Greta Thunberg, who created a wave that everyone in the world was talking about climate. Now, if we go ahead, I would just like to mostly talk about the points that my leader gave. So he mentioned a point saying no one comes forward, but if they come forward, then what's the issue? So there is no issue with us. We are not saying that every teenager should come onto the street and become a Greta Thunberg. These are, like my DLO mentioned, these are special teenagers who who have the capability, who have that leadership, who have that voice, that the people will listen to them, that the masses listen to them. So if they have that capability, who are we to deprive them of that fame or that leadership position that they get just because they're a kid? So in that way, when we turn 18, or like when we reach our 20s, then our seniors shouldn't allow us to take any power of position just because we are too young for them compared to them. So next we would like to say that the teenagers becoming the face of the movement does not harm the movement in any way. Though it only empowers the movement. Now the government can come up here and say that this empowerment is short-lived. Let it be short-term. Historically, we have seen that social movements only create an impact over a long period of time. Short-term impact is much more necessary. Long-term impact is nearly impossible. We need more people to come and create these short waves so that the movement lives on, so that it gets more effect. Now, the government says that the teenagers have their own life problems, and then next they will come up here and tell them that they have responsibility of education, they have to make their future. Education is now, next comes family, then job, then your kids, then you're gonna hide behind the curtain of responsibility your entire life. That does not make sense. And I would like to re-stress on the point that we're saying that these are some teenagers who come up front because they have the capability to do so. We were also teenagers. Did we go onto the stage? No, we did not. Why not? Because we did not want to do that. We weren't capable of that. In the same manner, young people or adults, they do not want to get onto the stage, like my PM said, like my DLO said, that sorry, yeah, no, my LO said that no one comes forward, but if they come forward, then what's the issue? The young people who, as the DPM mentioned, the young people didn't come forward. Now the kids are coming forward because you didn't come forward. As simple as that. Next, we would like to say that yeah, and now I will take on some points by the government side. So they say that future lead will make them future leaders, like I previously mentioned. We make them future leaders. So if they can be better than the current leader, now if they can be better than the current leader, then why can't they lead? And like I said, a leader is not alone. They have a whole team behind them. Why can't you push them from behind rather than pulling them from the front? What is the point of that? Now the few and one of the major point is the future is uncertain. Like we said, that the adults do not are unwilling to participate. Same way in the future, these children might not want to participate because their voices were suppressed by the society when they were more passionate about it. So that at that time we lost a leader, and that social movement loses a lot of things. uh I think I still have time. Okay. So yeah, I think my time's up. So thank you. I rest my case.
Uh, Thank you, Dpl, for a fine speech. So let's move on to second half. We have member of government here.
I'm going as with. I'm not going as member. 1 second. Aastha is going as with.
Can I get 1 minute to just revise my points? Hello, am I audible? Am I audible?
You're on.
Okay. Can I get 1 minute?
Can I get 1 minute?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so my greetings to the panel. I'm Aastha. I'm representing the closing government, and I have no preferred gender pronouns. While acknowledging the admirable qualities of young activists like Greta Thunberg, Malala Yousafzai, and the Parkland students, we regret the rise of their prominence, which has a lot of drawbacks and big consequences. So the thing is, in teenage, it is the time where a lot of young people they need time to explore their potential, their career choices, and which they and it's a very crucial time for them to learn how to be responsible, since a lot of teenagers lack the reality of how the complexity and how the world functions. They are not at all suitable for being the for being the front face of these social movements. uh, Teenage-led activism leads to the disadvantages, or leads to the ignorance or the neglection of many elements of the society, first being the teenagers themselves. So teenagers teenagers, when they see a lot of teenagers are on social media. They have access to all kinds of social media. So when they see an activist of their age having such an heroic portrayal, getting all the limelight and being popular, so they have this idea of being popular themselves. As the leader of opposition said, that when Greta Thunberg gave speech at the UN, whole class started discussing about the same thing. That's exactly my point. panel should note this, that teenage activism is all talk and no action, because since the time Greta Thunberg has spoken, has UN released any policy by taking Greta Thunberg's points? Not at all. It's all talk and no action. She comes, whines, complains, and it did not lead to any change. Any, it's just that people get some awareness, but then they move on to some other issue, so it gets neglected. People always move on, so you cannot guarantee that people are always going to think about climate change, because they have other issues to deal with. I'll take the POI later. So the thing is, their lack of the perspective, the realistic perspective, it makes them very an easy target of all the interest groups, all the political groups, to get manipulated and used and capitalized for their own political gains and agendas. So these young minds just become a tool in these social movements, and they become a puppet in the hands of these political leaders. So I'll give you the example. The United States of Institute of the Institute of Peace has done a research wherein they found no correlation between youth activism and youth employment. So I'll give you an example of Tunisia. In 2011, they had this protest against the young activism. They had this against unemployment. But it's 2023, and Tunisia is still suffering from the problem of unemployment. And I'll give you another example of 2019, wherein young activists led a overthrow against Omar al-Bashir. But they became a puppet in the hands of the political atmosphere there, and then they had no typical advantages. I'll take the POI later. So the thing is, and how are you going to view as the parents' investment? See, a parent invests in their kid, not to sit in front of a laptop or a phone or whatever the electronic devices they use, to sit and just be a keyboard warrior and attack these issues on and Twitter and waste their time. We have best example of this COVID situation, wherein NTA released the timetable and the COVID cases were decreasing, but the student led a social movement kind of thing against the exams, which they did not realize will affect them in the long term. So the thing is, we are not saying that the teenagers should be hidden from reality. We are just saying that they should realize the complexity of the real world, and with that knowledge only they should utilize these platforms to present their views, rather than just making some bland points without considering considering the stakes of any other countries or anything. And the thing is, the developing countries has lots of issues, but because of these young leaders and activists like Greta Thunberg and Malala Yousafzai, etc., the whole limelight is stolen by them, and the problems of developing nations are easily ignored and neglected by the media. And people start focusing on the rise of this new leader. They start glorifying them, and they forget what was the issue they started in the first place. They start associating their image, and they become like any other social media influencer. So it's not at all useful to the development of society, or there has been no significant contribution by them to the development of society. Now, we as CG propose a model wherein the experienced adults, so the POI by the OO was, why can't the movement of adults protect the teenagers rather than hiding them from reality? So to tackle this issue only, we are proposing a model which is which will comprise all the experienced people and the experts from our domain who will guide these young leaders and the young activists to uh, tackle all the issues and to bring forth their views and opinions. We have the best example as the Lokpal bill, which had Lokpal, which the protest led by Anna Hazare against the Lokpal bill in 2012 or 2013. Sorry if I'm wrong and if I'm getting these statistics wrong. But the thing was, Anna Hazare, it combined the experience of Anna Hazare with the youth and passion and aggression of Arvind Kejriwal as the new leader. So because of which we had this new rise of a new political party and rise of a new political leader of Arvind Kejriwal. So we can
Time.
okay. So by proposing this model, I rest my case. Thank you, panel, for listening.
Thank you, Member of Government. Fine speech. I'd like to call upon Member of Opposition to continue the case from the option. Emma?
Good evening. Am I audible now?
Ah, you're audible.
Just a second. I think it's echoing. Just a minute. Am I audible now? Clear and loud?
You're audible.
Yeah. So my name is Chinmayi and I'll be going as the member of opposition. I'll be taking all the POIs verbally. I don't want them in the chat. If you have any POIs, just unmute your mic and ask. And I'll be needing a reminder at 5 minutes, if possible, in the chat. Is it fine?
Yeah, I will give you a reminder in chat.
So I'll be starting in 3, 2, 1. So panel, let us understand why it is important to have teenagers in the social movement first. Teenagers are the future adult of the country. So when we are telling them not to participate, when we are not having them as the foreface or the forefront of the any social movement, we are telling them not to care about their future, because when they're fighting, when they're in the forefront, they're fighting for their future. They're fighting for the future of the country or the future of the world they're gonna live in the future. And I'm telling clearly that teenagers are not only from 13 to 17, it's 13 to 19. Maybe teenagers from like 13 to 15 may not make a major change in the current scenario, but teenagers of age group 15 to 17 will definitely make a huge or greater impact. So going on, when we have teenagers in the forefront, they bring a totally new aspect to the movie. They bring a new creative aspect to the movement, and they have since it's the world they're gonna live in the future. They'll have more uh, they'll have more uh, concern towards the movement, because it's their future that's at stake. So so when we are not when we regret having them as the forefront, we are uh, we are uh, uh, we are neglecting the chance of neglecting the opportunities they're going to have in the future. Let us take the example of the new NEP policy itself, where the NEP policy tells that it is important for students to have other skills rather than just sitting and studying in the class, which is when the education policy itself is telling that it's more important to have other skills. But who are we? Why are we stopping them from having it? From them developing leadership qualities, and from them participating in movements which they could actually bring changes to. And uh, and uh, um, I believe that experience teaches a lot than having than just studying and just keep sitting in class and studying. We need to have more on ground experience to learn what the reality is outside. If we just sit and if we are just sitting in class and reading and we are just completing, it's not something which is more feasible and viable. And we know that teenagers bring a well, teenagers bring uh, teenagers bring new aspects to the movement, and they bring more attention to the movement. And other teenage, if let us take an example where let us take example where a teenager is the face of the movement. So other teenagers of the same age group or the other teenagers, they're gonna definitely resonate with the current teenager who's leading the movement or is the face of the movement, and they're gonna resonate, and they're also gonna stand up for the movement. They're gonna bring more change to the movement, and they'll also start participating in the movement, participating in the parade pride, or it can be participating in the parade pride, or having being active on social media and supporting the movement through social media wise. When we regret that teenagers, when we regret, uh, no, I'll take the POI later. When we regret the teenagers having the teenagers as the mover, we are labeling them as being incapable, which is we are underestimating their capabilities, and we are telling that we shouldn't. We are underestimating their capabilities, and we are telling them that they are not capable of it, which is shunting their abilities. When we are shunting their abilities, no one would be interested in coming forward and participating anymore. It would be like you're snatching away their opportunities from what they have. You're snatching away the experiences which they could gain, or you're snatching away. You're snatching away the changes they could make. Even if they have a brilliant idea, you're just going to label it as stupid because they're just teenagers. That is not how it works. We believe that instead of teenagers instead of shunting teenagers away, the elders should come and support teenagers, so they would go hand in hand, where even if the teenagers are taking a wrong path, they could lead them, because that is the responsibility of being an elder or adult, where you guide the teenager. You tell them this is how it is done, and this is the right path to take. Uh, okay, just a second. Uh, and when we are talking about how the teenagers are gonna participate, they participate in many things, and when they participate, they're basically opening up a wide variety of options for the coming generation too. For example, let us take the LGBTQ community. Many people didn't know how to identify themselves until the mass number of teenagers started parading, and all the other teenagers were like, "Oh, it's not only male and female. I have other genders also, which I can identify with." That is how people from next generation also have more options. And teenagers have the power to put pressure on the government, uh, because like power on they have the ability to change what is there, because by participating in mass numbers, and they have the energy and the enthusiasm which is required for the movement. uh, and how many of us knew what how many of us were interested in climate change and global warming before Greta Thunberg started giving her speeches? Now, there were many people who before her were talking about it, but it didn't bring that much limelight as much as it brought when she spoke. That is the power of having a teenager as a forefront, because they're gonna represent a face of the movement, and many people are going to relate with it, and they're going to resonate with it, and they'll be like, oh, even I could bring some change within this society if I do something. So that is how teenagers are gonna change these. And we believe that for a moment to we say that all the age groups should be participating in the movement to uh, have a smooth flow of the movement. But we don't regret teenagers being the face of the movement, because they
Time's up,
they
Pallu.
because they could one second, because they could do so much more than what they are expected to do. And so I proudly oppose the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Nora, for position for fine speech. I'd like to call on the government whip to summarize the case from the Lord side. Go with.
Ready. Few minutes just to summarize the case.
Sure.
Moderators, I'm not visible. Yeah, works. Thank you. Okay. So very good evening, everyone. Good speeches till now. I'm Ayush Rathore of second year. I have no preferred gender pronouns. And panel, please note down. I'll be starting in 3, 2, 1. So panel, first understand, I'll explain you the case of how we laid down the case, how we identify the elements that are getting affected by this by this motion. And I will give some small explanation before closing down the entire case of all the other teams. First example, we talked about the teenagers, right? So how teenagers, now teenage is a very crucial period where their mental health, where their emotional support, they require a lot of things, right? So when they get involved in the social movements in any manner, whether they are a leader or they are a member, they get affected by trolls, they get affected by comments if they do a small mistake. Now understand that these small mistakes are simple enough to destroy the entire motion, as the people will start trolling that this movement does not hold any importance. Also, I can take the POI anytime, you can mention in chat. Second, manipulation, right? So we can take the example of Parkland students, right? So when Parkland students started protesting, slowly, political agendas, personal agendas, people started coming and interrupting in their situation, creating their own diverse images. Now we also talked about how students, when it's a time to focus on their studies, they focus on these type of things. So they focus on these type of things, disrupting their entire professional career. So we talked about teenagers one. I'm just summarizing a little bit. The rest all was done by my partner beautifully. Now coming to parents. Now parents have their own expectations from their child that they should reach this level. I'll take the POS later, that they should reach the level, right? Now when the students get involved in this vicious cycle, the parents' expectation fail, right? The parents also can get affected by the social trolls or social comments that come to his child account, right? They can target their parent also in case the child commits some mistakes, because it's an age where people commit mistake, right? Now third, we also talk about the society where, like if you take the example of Greta Thunberg. So when Greta Thunberg comes and give you a speech, I know, I understand, I agree by opposition case that everyone hears it, but who took action? Did Donald Trump at that time took action to do something? Did UK Prime Minister did something? No, they all told her. They told her that she did not have experience, right? So when we talk about when a movement well led like Lokpal Bill is well led by an experienced person, entire team of youth and experts, it can cause great change, because the government also thinks you as a very responsible side. It can come and commit some changes according to your plan. So we talked about three. We also talked about the developing nations or the minority groups that get affected with this case, right? So example, when Greta Thunberg talks about the entire environment case, she fails to understand as a teenager that how the complicated the world runs, correct? So in world, there's a lot of things such as a political case, economic case and all, where you require some support. Now we are running this movement alone, it doesn't happen. Also the voices of marginalized cases or the or the supporting or the developing countries get affected by it, correct? Because they have their own concerns, they have their own logistical concerns which get ignored by the people. Now coming to rebuttals, so I'll start with the rebuttal of opposition government. They talk about first Greta Thunberg. Like, she's very famous and all, she did forums, but as I said, her forums didn't do any effect. Second, they talk about how they can fight. Now remember, these teenagers in this modern time have their own personal fights. They cannot just go around fighting for the society, fighting for everything, leading those social movements alone. Second, publicity, correct. I agree with you, they have a lot of publicity, they got throw a good message, but example, the trolls that they get, example, the media, how they portray their image, this also affects the movement entirely, not their just personal lives. Then the deputy member also says that it does not harm the movement in any way. Let me remind you the Chinese Ma Zedong movement, where it was used by a youth, the entire people connected by youth, but it grew so violent that they created paramilitary forces by their own, and there was a huge massacre on both sides. Now imagine the entire movement led by youth, what effect can they do? We have a real like example, not to go to in any hypothetical case, right? Now come to CO case. Now CO explains you how teenagers work their future, but please understand, it's not a land of fairy tales where you do everything and it happens. You require money, you require logistics, you require experience to work for your future, you require wisdom, which teenager lacks. You need adult for them, right? And no one believes them as stupid. It's wrong. No, we all heard about her. She had some good points, yes, but she didn't have that credibility that an adult can have. If it was a team, I understand. If it was a team of Greta Thunberg with a few adults in the images, there would have been change in UN forum. I'm telling you. Okay. She also talked about like adults should support them, but she fails as to how adults should support them. Fourth, she talked about LGBTQ parades. I understand LGBT parades are correct, but many a times we have seen manipulation of these young children by these LGBTQ parades led by teenagers, because they get the image, and many a times when children are not usually directly connected, they get affected by it. Again, we all have heard about global warming before Greta Thunberg came. I remember drawing a painting of Save Water, Save Earth even when I was in first standard. Now coming to OG case, OG gives a very good point of how parent and children correct. The leader starts very well, I understand, but OG fails to teach you the real example of society, or how the society is in picture, right? How the society gets affected. We explain you with example how society gets affected, right? Also, she mentions about we can set up organizations to teach them. Now understand, I do not take, as a teenager right now, I do not take my social classes like heavily. How can I expect to take these organizations in picture, and what all sources do you require to conduct these organizations, right? She doesn't touches upon that. Coming to deputy leader case, he entirely negates the case of the leader. He said they do not want teenagers. Now understand that Malala Yousafzai was alone enough to grab a global prize on her own. She was alone enough to create an image, I understand, but it affected the entire youth leading the team, right? She got shot. She cannot live in her country. Her parents cannot live in that country. Her family is again being threatened time to time in Pakistan, right? So this is something new. Sorry, this isn't something new, right? So in our case, we explain you how a very well team can do changes. I will again touch the example of Lokpal Bill. So Anna Hazare, I agree, he was the face, but Arvind Kejriwal was also an important face, due to which he became a political leader later on. He utilized his face, right? But an entire team of experts, veterans and youth can do wonders. We are not asking for youth to lead the change. You can be a very good image, but it's not important to lead the change. We have touched you on all the three important aspects that opening government fails to touch upon. We touch upon students, we touch upon parents, we touch upon the society that affects, we touch upon the media, we touch upon the developing nations, we touch upon the minority groups that they affected, we touch upon the manipulation of political power and personal gains. With this, I'm pretty proud to say that we'll win this debate together. Thank you for a great debate, Dave. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gavit. I'd like to call upon the op whip to summarize the case from the oppositions.
Yeah, I hope I'm audible. Am I audible? Yeah,
yes, you are audible.
Yeah. Good evening, panel. My name is Vitala, and I don't have any preferred gender pronouns, and I'm from Team RCB. So, panel, first, let me take the case in front of you. The case is that The House regrets the rise of young social activists like Greta Thunberg in the social sphere. As my speaker already has told you, that what does the young generation bring on the table? The young generation clearly brings inspiration, force, and creative insight, and young blood with a very creative vision in order to solve issues. So the young social activists have come up with this. As my speaker tells you that the we also need that the role of elders so that they can encourage them, they can guide them, and they can critique on them so that instead of just trolling them for trolling them that they haven't done this correctly, they haven't done that correctly, the elders can give them encouragement instead of shunning them out and instead of telling them you cannot do this and you can only do that. People like Malala Yousafzai took a bullet on her head, and she has permanent weaknesses, and she still take medication on that. She went to such great lengths in order to bring an awareness against the issue of female education. The Our speaker clearly says that the young mind also brings a creative vision so that the world can be a better place for tomorrow. And the most important thing here is that people like Malala Yousafzai went on greater lengths to act as a whistleblower, even though their head was painted with a target. And the main thing where the OG completely misunderstood the case is that these young social activists are just the forefront of the movement. No, people like Malala Yousafzai and Naomi Wagner have come in clear terms, just in clear work, and so that Malala Yousafzai was awarded Nobel Prize for that. And another thing is that the OGPM says that every social movement has a fourth phase. Yes, every social movement has a fourth phase. But these activists are not just the fourth phase. They have been working really hard. And yes, Greta Thunberg became famous by just her one speech. But she also has been working on other issues by writing a book so that she can spread awareness. They are acting as a whistleblowers for the many people who do not know this issue. The young minds in India, like Tilak Mehta and Akhilendra Sahu, have built companies at the age of 16 to 19 years, and they are teenagers according to the definition of a so-called DPM from the OG, disrespecting the Nobel laureate who went to greater lengths in order to save female education and create awareness for the equality of women was disrespected, and the OG DPM said that she hasn't done even a work. She just made speeches. So nobody can win a Nobel Prize with speeches. I'm very clear on that. And while every teenager has their own problems, every parent also has their own problems. Despite of these issues, despite of the mental health issues which they get or they get trolled for, they are still on the platform. They are still on the place in order to just save this world and also make this a place of better world. And coming to the closing government, they relating the unemployment issue in Indonesia for the rise of young minds. I mean, really, what are they thinking exactly in that manner? The only role of they think that the only role of teenager is to take a job. Is that correct thing? I don't think so. The social movement, even the closing government also told that the social movement activists one day become social influencers. Wow, what a comparison! The OG was filled with complete two opposite phases. When the PM said we need them to be future leaders, their own DPM made a speech that sounded the world has no hope for teenagers. The government completely misunderstood the case that everyone wants that every youngster wants to be a social activist. No, but we should not regret the fact that they are acting as a whistleblowers in this world to make it a better place, as well as not everybody can be a Greta Thunberg, but one of us can reach to that place in order to solve an issue. And the best thing was they are losing education. I have this famous quote which I always say that is education must activate the child's own desire to learn, and that is education. No formal degree won't determine how educated you are. It is what the words you speak, what the hopes you have for the future. Lastly, I want to make you five things clear why our case is better than rest of all. We believe we would, if we do not regret the rise of young minds, we would be living in a better world with ignited leaders and than
Chinmayi
the
sir.
leaders who are struggling with dementia in their 70s. We would have a world which believes in the upcoming generation. We would have a world that is ready to guide its teenagers to become the future hope. We would have a world that where upcoming citizens are ready to solve bigger problems like global warming, climate change, even also the equality of women, as well as the racism in USA.
Chinmayi from
My
OG
closing
sir.
opposition speaker clearly, I'll take your latest, spoke how the rise of young minds have activated the new generation in order to they as the people like Malala Yousafzai may be inspiration to another Malala who is going to rise from, yeah, Africa or any third world country. So they are acting as a source of inspiration rather than just being the face of the movement. Even though if we just consider, if we take the best argument of the government side, which is that parents have expectations. Yes, everybody has expectations, but these social activists have risen themselves and they know what are the calamities which they'll be facing in this time, and instead of that they are acting as a whistleblowers to certain issues so that the present issues must be solved. Our case is very simple. If you are regretting the rise of young minds, you are shunning them out, and there'll be no one to listen to the solution. And one day we'll be having a world where our teenagers will not be will just be going to colleges rather than focusing on the problems of the world, which has to be solved by the young minds. With this, I proudly rest my case as we also say that young minds are the future of nation. Thank you.
I thank opposition whip for fine speech. Well, guys, we come to a conclusion of this round. I think we'll go for a deliberation. We will come back shortly with the verdict. We may have different verdicts. Well, trainee and other panel will give you a verdict, and I will give you the verdict. And then, if you have any questioning or you won't have any doubts with the verdict, can discuss later. So, folks, just wait for 10 minutes, 10 minutes, and thank you. Pratyush?
Okay, so this is how it's going to be. So we are the result for this round will be released with the breaks at 11:30 p.m. Please stay tuned on our YouTube channel for the same. Yeah.
Oh, nice.